You may be aware that last November, shortly after House Speaker Mike Johnson took office, as I mentioned earlier, the House passed a $4.3 billion aid package for Israel that paired that spending with cuts to the IRS. Now, that was part of the money that the Biden administration pushed for last year. Now, that bill went nowhere in the Democrat-controlled Senate. They're just sitting on it, leaving Israel without any aid as they battle against Hamas. Now, many conservatives supported the previous bill in Israel's effort to defend itself, yet still plan to vote no on this latest standalone aid package. They're seeking to pay for this aid to Israel with spending cuts elsewhere and asking, how can we support another country when our own nation's borders are not secure? All good questions, especially as I mentioned just a moment ago, we're $34 trillion in debt. But some of these challenges that our leaders face are not easy. They're not necessarily black and white. Joining me now to discuss this, Congressman Ralph Norman. He serves on the House Rules Committee, the House Budget Committee, and the House Committee on Financial Services. He represents the 5th Congressional District of South Carolina. Congressman Norman, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Great to be with you, Tony. Thank you.
Now, you've supported aid to Israel. Strong supporter of Israel, but you have concerns over the bill that I think actually is starting to be debated on the floor right now, that the House will vote on this week, that would be a standalone, what's called clean bill for support for Israel. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a legitimate ask at, I think, $17.6 billion, or 18.1 billion total, but with no offsets. And Tony, what gets me is, the fact that we're not even fighting for cuts. The only thing this administration has done well is to spend our money. Mm-hmm. And we have so many things that we could at least fight for to support Israel, which is our only democracy in the Middle East. I fully support what they're doing. I support the fact that they're fighting for their survival. And all we would need to do is to get full support, in my opinion, was to offer up some savings. Now, where could that come from? The IRS, which would be $80 billion. There's a climate change tax credit. Get this, $663 billion. The FBI building, the list goes on and on. What's frustrating to me is that, we're killing the goose that lays the eggs, and the fact that this country cannot keep doing this. And as I tell many Israel supporters and friends of mine that I made when I visited Israel, that this kills me to do this, but I don't know when this Congress is going to take our spending seriously. We cannot keep this trajectory up. 36 trillion in debt. Interest on the debt alone is like 80,000 per second. We just can't keep going. So that's my reasoning.
And all of that is true. I agree with all of that. But I want to ask you this question: that the House passed a bill that did that 3 months ago. And the Senate refuses to take it up. So how do we solve these problems where we've got, the Democrats, they don't really care about these things, and they're sitting on this bill. So this looks like the options before us. And feel free to jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. So you've got this now bill that doesn't look like it's going to come out of the Senate. That was the supplemental bill that was, 18 billion in total. That dealt with Ukraine, dealt with Taiwan, dealt with Israel, and then, now it has these flawed border provisions on it. That's one option. The other option you've already passed, the Senate's sitting on it, and then the Speaker has put forward this clean bill to once again, I guess, push the Democrats into the corner in the Senate. What other options are out there?
Well, I'll be honest with you, it's a severe problem with the Senate. I don't know how you deal with the Senate. They don't care. Their record of spending is just not, is unavailable. They're just not going to do anything. But we've got to keep trying. I'd send bill after bill. We've asked, and I think Mike Johnson he's an honorable man. He's a godly man. But it's time to play hardball with them by meaning they want the Ukraine funding worse than anything. And so we've got to somehow use leverage to get them to offset something. I mean, in a time that we're real close, if not already past the point of total bankruptcy in this country.
Yeah.
And how many countries are we going to be able to help then?
Right.
None.
I do not disagree with that one bit. These are hard issues, very hard issues, and I respect the differing opinions, and that's why we have these conversations on this program. I do want to ask you one question, semi-related to this. Why, you mentioned that they're really pushing for the Ukraine funding. Why are Democrats so enamored with funding Ukraine but not Israel?
It's very simple. They really do not support Israel. I mean, this president's already calling for a two-state solution, which is unbelievable. Ukraine is known as a corrupt country. I have zero confidence that the bill that they want to pass is not going to where it should be going. I think it's this administration I've lost complete confidence in them. So that's why I think the money, if you really traced it where it goes, it's not for where it should have been going.
Yeah.
A lot of it went to Hamas. A lot of it went to the very enemies that are supporting Iran and basically killed our 3 servicemen recently. And this administration is not doing anything about it and won't do anything.
Yeah, anything this administration, I hate to say this, I don't say it lightly, but anything this administration embraces, I have to wonder about. I mean, I really do.
Exactly right. And it couldn't come to an end quick enough, Tony.
You're absolutely right, but that requires people vote. They're informed, involved, and engaged. Congressman, always great to see you. Thanks so much for taking time to join us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.